Today's lesson is Ichiro Suzuki makes history as first Japanese player to enter MLB Hall of Fame. Hi, everybody. I'm Roger.
And I'm Mike.
And we're talking about the world of sports today, and we're talking about a Japanese baseball player who was recently inducted into the Hall of Fame, in Cooperstown, New York. It honors people who played baseball in the MLB in the United States. And no, we're not talking about Shohei Ohtani. We're talking about Ichiro Suzuki. If you remember him, I think he retired some time ago. But if you were a fan of the Seattle Mariners, I think the team was, you probably were a big fan of him as well.
Yeah, he actually only retired about 5 years ago, which shows you how long he played for. But yes, if anyone deserves to be in the Baseball Hall of Fame, Ichiro Suzuki is definitely there. And you mentioned Shohei Ohtani. I think it's a pretty strong bet that he'll end up in the Baseball Hall of Fame among the great gods of baseball when he retires, of course, a few years from now, or probably many years from now, possibly. But Ichiro Suzuki, he was the first Japanese player to enter the MLB Hall of Fame. Quite an impressive career. I knew a little bit about this. He never really played for a team I hugely supported, so I have to say. I didn't pay that much attention to his career, but when I learned more about it, it really is quite astonishing what he did, considering he had such a long career in baseball, but he'd already played almost 10 years in Japan. So if you put all that together and put his statistics, the numbers that he put up in hits and runs and all that kind of stuff, there are few players in the history of the game, in fact, maybe none, who might be able to reach his level of productivity. He was a very, very productive, very solid, and very reliable, high-quality player for many, many teams for many, many years. So let's find out all about this fascinating man from Japan who was magic both with a bat and out in the field.
Ichiro Suzuki makes history as first Japanese player to enter MLB Hall of Fame. On July 27th, Ichiro Suzuki became the first Japanese player inducted into the Baseball Hall of Fame in Cooperstown, New York. After 9 standout seasons in Japan's Nippon Professional Baseball, Suzuki debuted in Major League Baseball, MLB, with the Seattle Mariners in 2001. That year, he won both the American League MVP and Rookie of the Year awards, an achievement accomplished by only one other MLB player, Fred Lynn, in 1975.
大家好，第一部分介绍动词 induct。意思是正式进入某组织或是使正式就任。例如 It is every professional baseball player's dream to one day be inducted into the Hall of Fame. 有朝一日或渐进入名人堂是每位职棒选手的梦想。或者 The ceremony will induct Olivia as the new president of the association. 该典礼将正式让 Olivia 成为该协会的新会长。另外补充它的名词 induction表示正式加入或是就职典礼。例如 Danny's induction into the Olympics team was broadcast on national television. Danny 加入奥运队的典礼在全国电视播出。或是 Patricia gave a short speech during her induction as mayor of the city. Patricia 在就任市长的典礼上发表了一个简短的演说。继续看到名词 stand out， 它的意思是杰出的人或事物。例如Among all the candidates, Alicia was the clear standout for the leadership role. 在所有候选人中 Alicia 是领导职位的明显杰出人选。也可以说 Eddie's performance in the championship game made him the standout of the season. Eddie 在冠军赛的表现使他成为本赛季的亮点。接下来看到动词 debut， 它的意思是首次登场或是首演。例如The young pianist will debut with the city orchestra at tonight's concert. 这位年轻钢琴家将在今晚的音乐会上与市立交响乐团首次登台。再一句 The author's new novel debuted on the bestseller list. 那名作者的新小说刚上市就登上畅销名单。另外，这个字也能当名词使用。例如 The actor's debut film performance was seen by millions of people around the world. 全球数百万人观看了这位演员的电影处女作。也可以说 The young singer made her debut at a local music festival. 这名年轻歌手在一场当地音乐节上首次登台。 最后看到动词 accomplish， 表示达成或是完成。可以说 With good communication and planning, the team accomplished the project ahead of schedule. 透过良好的沟通与规划，该团队提前完成了这个专案。最后一个例子 Rachel has been working hard to accomplish all her goals by the end of the year. Rachel 非常努力在年底前达成她所有的目标。
Okay, so again, we're talking about Ichiro Suzuki, and he makes history as the first Japanese player to enter the MLB Hall of Fame. So if you make history, you do something that hasn't really been done before, and you become world famous. So I guess a Japanese baseball player had never been inducted into the Hall of Fame before, so he's the first one, and that means it's made history, or he has made history, and people are going to remember him for a very long time. If, again, you are a fan of baseball.
Yeah, absolutely right. So Ichiro Suzuki, and I think actually for a lot of Americans, he kind of became like Madonna or Cher or Beyonce. He was just Ichiro. Everyone just knew him as Ichiro. So that also kind of shows how he kind of crossed over from baseball or sports to pop culture. He was so well known and really much loved, I think, as just a really good representative of the sport, both baseball in general and Japanese baseball in particular. It says on the 27th of July, Ichiro Suzuki became the first Japanese player inducted into the Baseball Hall of Fame in Cooperstown, New York. That's where you'll go to find the Baseball Hall of Fame, filled with stories and plaques and posters and all sorts of memorabilia, historical things from baseball's long, long history. You know, the bat that Babe Ruth used and the glove that Ty Cobb played with and all that kind of stuff. And when you're inducted, that means there's kind of a group or something like that, and now you have been made a member of that group. You could be inducted into a club or inducted into some kind of social group, social society. And also with these Hall of Fames, with these museums, with these kind of places where you're suddenly, you know, become part of history. That's another word that we might use there, to induct someone. Maybe there's a little ritual, there's a ceremony, they'll invite you, you'll make a speech, there'll be a nice dinner, you get a plaque. Now you can walk around for the rest of your life and say, I'm a member of this group, this club, this special society. So that happened not too long ago, this summer. And it seemed to have a very good reason. Let's look at his career a little more carefully.
Yep, here it says, after 9 standout seasons in Japan's Nippon Professional Baseball, Suzuki debuted in Major League Baseball, MLB, with the Seattle Mariners in 2001. No, he played for the Seattle Mariners, which, you know, is probably a nice team. His teammates were probably really nice to him and stuff like that.
Big Japanese population in Seattle, too, so probably good for ticket sales.
Indeed, that's probably why he went to play there in the first place.
And it's close to Tokyo.
The closest you can get to Tokyo in the continental United States, if you don't count Alaska.
Right.
So here we've got professional baseball. That just means players are in the league and they're getting paid for it. Of course, here in Taiwan, you've got your professional baseball league, the Fubon Guardians and the Brothers or whatever. Those are all various teams in the local professional baseball league. So in Japan, they've got the professional league there. I think they have 2 divisions or something, the Pacific League and the Central League or something like that. They're various teams there. They show these baseball games on TV all the time. And if you debut, that means you just begin doing something, especially if you make your first appearance in a team or something like that. You could say you made your debut. I think in the southern United States, they have these certain kinds of parties for young girls if they turn 16 or something like that. They have a debut of this girl. They have a special party, which means she's entered adulthood, kind of like the Mexican quinceañera, if you know what that is. But here to debut, again, just means to start playing in the MLB, and he played with the Mariners. He began playing with them back in 2001, which was the same year as 9/11, I believe.
And that's, of course, after a 9-year career in Japan. So he'd already been playing professionally since 1992, which is very impressive. That year, so in 2001, his first year in American baseball in the MLB, he won both the American League MVP and Rookie of the Year awards, an achievement accomplished by only one other MLB player, Fred Lynn, in 1975. Apparently, this is something that no one apart from Ichiro had done and Fred Lynn before him. The American League MVP So he was the MVP, Most Valuable Player. That's basically like the Best Player of the Year award. He won that for the American League, which is half of the MLB. He also won the Rookie of the Year awards. This is for the new player, the first-year player. If you're a rookie, it's your first year in baseball, or if you're a rookie in general, you're new on the job. So here's a rookie, take him around, show him how to do the job. You might be a rookie, for a few months on a job, but for baseball, it will be for 1 year, 1 season. Kind of funny for a guy who'd been playing professional baseball for 9 years already. He's in his mid-20s. Most rookies will be quite young, maybe even in their teens. But he was, for him in professional American baseball, it was his first year, so he can be the rookie. And he won both of those awards, and that's an achievement, that's an accomplishment, or that's accomplished. That is something that has been achieved. When we achieve something, we accomplish something. It can be an achievement. It can be an accomplishment. It is something difficult that you have done successfully. Well done. Congratulations. So it's an achievement that was done, in other words, by only one other MLB player. Only one other MLB player has gotten the MVP and the Rookie of the Year. So best player and best young player ever before, and that's Fred Lynn.
And it also kind of makes me wonder why he took so long to go to the MLB. He was in the Japan League for 9 years. Yeah, maybe they didn't recognize his talent, or maybe he just wasn't interested. No, I want to play in Japan. I like Japan better. That's got better food and less violence and stuff like that. Exactly. I'm raising a family or whatever. So, yeah, you'll have to look that up yourself later on, but not today. Let's move on now to the second part and learn some more about Ichiro Suzuki.
Over his 19-year MLB career, Suzuki played for 3 teams and collected 3,089 hits. Known for his impressive speed, exceptional hitting, and excellent fielding, he earned 10 All-Star selections and 10 Gold Glove awards. His success paved the way for other Asian players to join MLB, including Japan's Shohei Ohtani, as well as players from Taiwan and South Korea.
Okay, here in the second part of our lesson, it says, over his 19-year MLB career, or during his long career, Suzuki played for 3 teams and collected 3,089 hits. Of course, a hit means you hit the ball and you're able to get on base, whether it's first base, second base, third base, or a home run. Those are all considered hits. And yes, he had quite a collection of them, 3,089 hits.
Oh, okay. Known for his impressive speed, exceptional hitting, and excellent fielding, he earned 10 All-Star selections and 10 Gold Glove awards. So there you go. Very much of an all-round player. Not a power hitter, not a big home run hitter like Shohei Ohtani and others, but definitely a guy who could get on base very effectively. And once on base, his impressive speed. He was very fast, so stealing bases was also something he was good at. Exceptional hitting, getting 3,000 hits is something very few players have ever gotten to. An exceptional, very reliable hitter with a very high average and excellent fielding. So really good in the field as well. A very good defensive player, as we would say, catching the ball and stopping the other team from getting hits and runs. He earned 10 All-Star selections, so he was selected to the All-Star team 10 times. So he was clearly popular with the fans if they elected him to the All-Star team 10 times. And 10 Gold Glove awards. This is the defensive award. This is for the best fielder. If you're very good at stopping the ball, catching the ball, throwing the ball, getting people out, in other words, by being quick out in the field and good with your glove, you get the Gold Glove. That basically means one of the best fielding players as well. His success paved the way for other players to join MLB, including Japan's Shohei Ohtani, as well as players from Taiwan and South Korea. Once he kind of kicked that door in and said, yes, even though Japanese players might be a little smaller, maybe not quite as strong as the big American players and others, we're fast, we're good, we're technically brilliant, we're just as good and can contribute just as much. So that made it much easier. And suddenly scouts in America were flying off to Taiwan and South Korea and, of course, Japan to look for the next Ichiro Suzuki, the next great player, pitcher, catcher, batter, whatever it was. It made it much easier for players from Asia to be taken seriously by MLB teams and to be signed and have very successful careers.
Yep, he paved the way for them. He opened the door for them. And, of course, maybe we have Ichiro to thank for Wang Jianming being able to go pitch for the Yankees
and others.
And others as well. Lots of players from Taiwan are making it in the big leagues in North America. So yes, indeed, I guess we have Ichiro to thank for that. Well, let's move on now to the third and final part of our lesson for today and find out some more about Ichiro Suzuki.
In his induction speech, Suzuki urged aspiring athletes to take a practical approach to chasing their dreams. I encourage young players to dream and dream big, but also to understand the difference between a dream and a goal. In order to make your dream your goal, you must be honest in thinking about what is important to achieve it.
Okay, so here in the final paragraph it says, in his induction speech, Suzuki urged aspiring athletes to take a practical approach to chasing their dreams. Okay, so when you are inducted into the Hall of Fame, when you are asked to become a member of the Hall of Fame, you'll have a little statue in there or a plaque or whatever so people can check you out and say, oh, yes, Ichiro is a member of the Hall of Fame, along with, Raleigh Fingers or Ty Cobb or whoever. And so, of course, when that happens, you need to give an induction speech. Okay, so, of course, you have to talk to some people. They want to hear you talk. And during that speech, he urged aspiring athletes to take a practical approach to chasing their dreams. So if you urge someone to do something, you basically recommend that they do it a certain way. You have the experience. You have the knowledge. So you're going to give someone some advice. You're urging someone to do something because you think that's what they should do based on your experience. And if you're aspiring, that means you hope that you can do this. So if you are an aspiring athlete, if you're playing high school baseball and you're doing pretty well and you think, maybe I could become a professional someday. So I'm an aspiring athlete. Maybe someday I can play for the Los Angeles Dodgers or whatever. So he says you should take a practical approach to chasing your dreams. Practical just means be realistic.
Absolutely. Do things. Don't just lie on your sofa thinking, oh, when I'm a baseball star, get off the sofa. You actually have to do stuff. And here's kind of his recipe for success. He says, I encourage young players to dream and dream big, okay? No matter where you are, if you love hitting that ball and running around the bases and fielding and catching, and you want to go to the MLB, that's great. That's a dream. That's a big dream. You want to play for the Yankees or the Dodgers, that's great too. But, he says, also to understand the difference between a dream and a goal. Having a dream is great, but a goal is much more realistic. It's something you can actually take practical steps to try to achieve. In order to make your dream your goal, you must be honest in thinking about what is important to achieve it. So this is the practical approach. It's not just about dreaming. You might want to be the best in the world, but what are you going to actually do to try to reach that goal or that dream of being the best in the world? Be honest. If you're suddenly not the best player on the team, don't get frustrated. You just have to recalibrate what you think you can do and run towards that with as much hard work and passion as you possibly can.
That does sound like good advice. So remember that if you are an aspiring professional athlete, it's too late for us because we're too old, Mike.
Oh, you've crushed my dreams.
But I guess we could still be fans. That's okay too. Okay, that brings us to the end of our explanation for today. Here comes Hanny.
各位同学大家好，我是 Hanny。 我们来看今天的文法重点。课文第一部分提到，铃木一朗在日本职棒度过9个杰出的赛季后，他于2001年在美国职棒大联盟的西雅图水手队初登场。文中他用到名词 stand out， 是指杰出的人或事物。如果把它拆开变成 stand out， 它是不及物片语动词，表示突出、引人注目或者是脱颖而出。之后常常会接介系词加名词。那我们以下介绍几个常见的用法，像 stand out for 加上名词就可以表达因为什么什么而出众显眼。 stand out as 加上名词可以表达以什么样的身份而显眼出众，或者是可以用 stand out against 或是 from 或是 in 再加名词去表达在什么当中引人注目或是从什么当中脱颖而出。那我们来看2个例句。 The girl stood out in the crowd for her red hair. 那个女孩因为一头红发在人群中格外的显眼。 或者是像 The white cottage stands out against the green grass， 那间白色小屋在绿色草地上格外的显眼。好，那顺便补充一个用语是 stand out like a sore thumb， 或者是 stick out like a sore thumb， 字面意思是像疼痛的拇指一样伸出来，那是用来表示与周围格格不入，显得刺眼或是碍眼的意思。举例来说 The building stands out like a sore thumb in this neighborhood， 那栋建筑物和附近这一带显得格格不入。好，那么课文第二部分最后一句写到，他的成功为其他亚洲球员加入大联盟奠下基础，包括日本的大谷翔平以及来自台湾和韩国的球员。那文中是用 as well as 来表达以及什么什么。那我们这边来整理一下 as well as 的不同意思及用法。首先，它可以当连接词，表示还有以及或是也，那这时候 as well as 是要连接词性相同的字词，像是 The tour was entertaining as well as educational， 这趟游览有趣又具有教育意义。那这边就是连接了两个形容词 entertaining 跟 educational。另外要注意，如果是用 as well as 来连接主词，那么动词的单复数是要配合 as well as 前方的那个名词。举例来说 The bedrooms as well as the bathroom were very clean， 房间以及浴室都很干净。那么句中的 be 动词是配合前方的那个主词 the bedrooms， 所以是用复数的 were。再来 as well as 可以当介系词去表达除了什么什么之外还怎么样，那么后面是要接名词或动名词。例如 as well as the guitar, he also plays the violin and the drums。除了吉他，他还会拉小提琴和打鼓。好，那么以上今天重点整理，我们就来回顾今天的单字吧。
Professional. Audrey hired a professional photographer to take pictures for her wedding day. Debut. Lily debuted as an actor recently in a play written by one of her classmates. Accomplish. We finally accomplished our goal after many months of hard work. Exceptional. Not only was the restaurant's food delicious, but the service was also exceptional. Urge. Doctors often urge people to exercise regularly in order to maintain or improve their health.
Discussion starter starts now!
And our discussion starter question is, how might Ichiro Suzuki's achievement influence future athletes?
Well, his success might inspire athletes to work on their throwing arm a little bit better, because remember, he was a right fielder, I think, and every time the ball came out to him, boy, he could really throw that ball back to the infield really fast, and he could get those runners out at second base or third base really easily. So yeah, you should work on your throwing arm and work on your hitting as well. How about you, Mike?
I would say it could open doors for other athletes, not only from Asia, but other sort of non-baseball playing continents to be considered, allowing more players from different parts of the world to get a shot at being in the MLB. Maybe we'll see players from the Philippines or Italy or Brazil or something like that, because along with soccer, baseball is truly one of the most international sports.
Well, that brings us to the end of another edition of our program, and please make sure you join us again next time. From all of us here, I am Roger.
I am Mike.
See you next time.